Caitlin Clark setting yet another viewership record. Caitlin Clark won Player of the Month last month. Caitlin Clark has now won Player of the Week. Not only AP Player of the Week, but she's won WNBA Player of the Week as well. She will not be denied. Now, normally when you win Player of the Week, you're playing your normal minutes. Usually when you win Player of the Week.
What happens when one player starts breaking records so often that it almost feels routine, yet every new milestone somehow leaves the entire league scrambling for answers? Caitlin Clark has done it again with another record-breaking week, another Player of the Week honor, and numbers that have everyone talking. However, the biggest surprise is not the award itself. It is what these unbelievable ratings might reveal about the future of the WNBA. Has the league reached a turning point? Or is something even bigger about to happen?
The face, the only face, the real face of women's basketball, period. She did it again, Caitlin Clark, shattering records, creating new viewership records for USA Sports. She did it again. Y'all keep running around trying to pretend like this person's the face of the league, that person's the face of the league because they've been here for 9 years or they won a champ. That does not make you.
The strange thing about Caitlin Clark's latest achievement is that the award itself almost feels like the least interesting part of the story. Winning another Player of the Week honor is impressive, but the bigger headline is what keeps happening every time she steps onto a basketball court.
So Caitlin Clark has officially declined to compete in the WNBA All-Star Weekend 3-point contest. And people are already asking why. This is a massive, mistake by the WNBA. This is a problem. There are players that are not competing that they think should compete. And let's be real. They might be right. In fact, they probably.
Every network that broadcasts her games seems to stumble into another ratings milestone, and every executive in sports television has to ask the same question all over again. How is one player consistently producing numbers that the league had spent years trying to reach? That question became even louder after the Indiana Fever's matchup against the Golden State Valkyries drew an average of 1.14 million viewers on USA Network.
Like it. I ain't gonna hold you, man. We got to get back to this viewership, man. Caitlin Clark has broken another viewership record. So as of right now, Caitlin Clark, 2.5 million views for the New York Liberty game, peaking at 3 million, making it the second most watched WNBA game since 2000. Nothing but Caitlin Clark, the needle mover, does surprise me. Just another day for the Queen, and the league still doesn't promote.
That was not just another healthy audience for a regular season game. It became the most watched WNBA game ever broadcast on the network, surpassing every previous benchmark. Even more remarkable was that the audience represented a massive increase compared to the network's average WNBA viewership from the previous season.
However, when you're Caitlin Clark and you're that damn good, when you're that damn talented, even on a minutes restriction, USA Sports coverage of Valkyries Fever last Wednesday, July 15th, is its most watched WNBA game on record, averaging 1.14 million viewers and up 172% versus last season's average WNBA.
The funny part is that this record barely had enough time to settle before another one arrived. Just 1 week earlier, the Fever's late-night matchup against the Los Angeles Sparks had already rewritten the history books by becoming the first WNBA game tipping off at 10 p.m. Eastern to still attract more than 1 million viewers. Most television executives would normally panic when they see a sporting event scheduled that late because viewers usually have work, school, or the irresistible temptation of going to bed. Apparently, none of those things apply when Caitlin Clark is on television. That has become one of the most fascinating patterns in professional sports today. Fans are no longer simply following the Indiana Fever because they happen to support the franchise. Casual viewers who may not have watched a single WNBA game a few years ago are suddenly rearranging their evenings because they want to see what Clark might do next. That distinction explains why television ratings continue climbing regardless of the opponent, the arena, or even the broadcast network. Whether the game airs on ABC, ESPN, CBS, NBC, or USA Network, the conversation almost always circles back to the same player. Networks are discovering that broadcasting a fever game feels a little like finding an extra scoop of ice cream at the bottom of the freezer. They know the audience is probably going to be larger than expected.
Lads, I am just back from playing ball, and I am literally going to be quickly recording this video, and then the rest of the stuff is some pre-planned stuff for today. And obviously, Caitlin Clark has not participated in the three-point shootout. The three-point contest participants are Azzi Fudd, Marina Mabry, Ryan Hart, Natisha Heidemann, Janelle Salon, and Bridget Carlton. And one player that was not announced is
Perhaps the most revealing detail is that the common denominator never seems to change. Every time another ratings list is released, Indiana Fever games dominate the top positions. Different opponents come and go, different storylines develop throughout the season, yet Clark remains the constant variable in an equation that keeps producing enormous audiences. That reality has fueled plenty of debates about who truly serves as the face of the WNBA. Those discussions have become some of the most passionate conversations in basketball because several established stars have built Hall of Fame-worthy careers over many seasons. Players like Asia Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Nafissa Collier, and others have earned tremendous respect through championships, MVP awards, and years of elite performances. However, being the league's best player and being its biggest television attraction are not always the same thing. Whether someone loves her style of play, roots against her every possession, or simply wants to understand why everyone keeps talking about her, they still end up contributing to those audience numbers. Television executives are not concerned about why someone watches. They simply appreciate the fact that people are watching.
Being a GOAT, what can we say here? This is courtesy of USA Sports PR. Here it says, USA Sports coverage of Valkyrie's Fever last Wednesday, July 15th, is its most watched WNBA game on record, averaging 1.14 million viewers, up 172% versus last season's average WNBA cable viewers.
Ironically, some of Clark's biggest critics may be helping her popularity even more. Every heated debate on social media creates another wave of curiosity. Every controversial foul becomes another viral clip. Every argument over officiating, rankings, awards, or media coverage encourages thousands of additional people to tune in and decide for themselves. It almost feels as though Clark has accidentally discovered basketball's version of perpetual motion. Every discussion generates more attention, which creates more viewers, which leads to bigger headlines, which sparks even more discussion. That cycle is incredibly difficult to manufacture intentionally. Normally, reducing a superstar's playing time also reduces their statistical impact. Clark apparently missed that memo. Despite playing fewer minutes, she still managed to perform at a level that convinced both media members and league officials she deserved Player of the Week honors once again. That accomplishment says as much about efficiency as it does about talent, because maximizing every possession becomes even more important when every minute is carefully managed. Think about how unusual that really is.
Would love to see compete in this. We're still waiting for that Caitlin Clark, Sabrina Ionescu competition. We didn't get it last year like we expected when she was in Indiana because she was injured for the All-Star game weekend. And now she is here again, and she's dealing with a lot of injuries once again. So that's something to think.
Most players accumulate impressive numbers because they spend 35 or even 40 minutes on the floor. Clark was producing elite performances while operating with fewer opportunities than many of her competitors. It is the basketball equivalent of arriving halfway through the movie and somehow still winning the award for Best Actor. During the award-winning stretch, she averaged 25 points, 7 7 assists, and more than 2 rebounds per game, while continuing to stretch defenses well beyond the three-point line. Those statistics only begin to explain her influence because they fail to capture the countless possessions where defenders abandon their assignments simply because Clark crosses half-court. There may not be another player in basketball who forces defensive game plans to begin nearly 40 feet away from the basket quite like she does. That is why teams often find themselves enjoying cleaner looks at the basket. Clark's presence bends defenses long before she even attempts a shot, and that kind of gravity is incredibly rare. It explains why analysts frequently point out that the points she directly creates through scoring and assists barely scratch the surface of her offensive impact. If anything, this latest award feels less like a surprise and more like another chapter in a season that keeps becoming increasingly historic. The remarkable part is not that Caitlin Clark won Player of the Week.
Only behind the weight for Fever versus Aces with 2.64 million viewers on average. You are thrilling. Caitlin Clark is the common denominator in every single top watch game outside of one since she's joined the league. No matter what hate train is thrown her way, people still tune in and watch. That's all the networks care about. Be ready for 50 nationally televised
games next game. The remarkable part is that each new accomplishment somehow raises expectations even higher, leaving fans wondering whether the next game might produce another record, another unforgettable performance, or another statistic that forces the basketball world to rewrite its history books once again. What makes this season even more fascinating is that Clark's individual accomplishments no longer exist in their own little bubble. They are beginning to influence the entire trajectory of the Indiana Fever. Since Clark has settled back into rhythm, however, the Fever have started looking far more dangerous, and suddenly the conversation has shifted from simply making the playoffs to wondering how far they can actually go. That is one of the hidden benefits of having a superstar who can completely control the pace of a game. Even when she is not scoring 30 or 40 points, Clark constantly forces opponents into uncomfortable decisions. Defenses have to choose between trapping her near half-court, allowing her to attack one-on-one, or collapsing into the paint and risking an avalanche of three-pointers. None of those options feel particularly appealing, which is exactly why Indiana's offense has become increasingly difficult to contain.
Bam! Player of the Week, Caitlin Clark, 25 points per game, 43.5% shooting, 7.7 assists, 2.3 rebounds per game. I mean, I don't know what to say anymore. The girl came in here and she is tearing this WNBA upside down. She's doing all this on a minute restriction, recovering from a back injury, playing in a system that she's not even a go-to. The system ain't the...
Perhaps the funniest part of watching opposing coaches prepare for the Fever is imagining the scouting meetings. Somewhere inside every film room, there is probably an assistant coach confidently saying, "We just have to stop Caitlin Clark." 5 minutes later, everyone realizes that nobody has actually figured out how to do that consistently. It is a bit like announcing that your strategy for climbing Mount Everest is simply to avoid getting tired. The idea sounds wonderful until reality decides to join the conversation. Imagine entering a race halfway through and still finishing comfortably ahead of competitors who started from the beginning. That is essentially what Clark has managed to accomplish offensively this season. Her decision-making has become sharper, her shot selection more efficient, and her chemistry with teammates continues to evolve every single week. The version of Caitlin Clark fans are watching today may not even be the best version they see by the end of a season. That thought should probably make every opposing coach reach for another cup of coffee. Then came another memorable moment when head coach Stephanie White presented Clark with her latest Player of the Week recognition in front of her teammates. The atmosphere perfectly reflected what had developed inside Indiana's locker room.
And she did not get the invite. And by the way, Sophie Cunningham got the invite when she played for the Phoenix Mercury. She genuinely got the invite when she played for a different team. Caitlin Clark said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go do the three-point contest a year ago." And look, I'm being very, very clear. I don't think Caitlin Clark gives a flying fuck about helping other
It's also worth remembering that this was not Clark's first weekly award this season. She has now earned multiple Player of the Week honors, while teammate Kelsey Mitchell has also collected one of her own. That means Indiana players have captured the award 3 times in a 5-week stretch, which says a great deal about how dramatically the team's fortunes have changed. Instead of discussing potential, people are now discussing production. Clark's historic resume also keeps growing at a pace that almost feels unfair. She recorded the first 40-point, 10-assist game in WNBA history, established a franchise record with a spectacular 45-point performance, and became the fastest player ever to reach 200 career three-pointers defeat in only 74 games. Every one of those milestones would normally define an outstanding season by itself. Clark keeps stacking them together, as though she is collecting souvenirs on vacation. Awards should ultimately reflect production, consistency, and impact, and Clark continues checking every one of those boxes. That does not mean the competition is weak, because it certainly is not. The league is filled with elite veterans who have built outstanding careers and continue playing exceptional basketball.
Missed this WNBA record that was absolutely shattered last night. In the Fever Seattle Storm game, Caitlin Clark became the fastest player in WNBA history to make 200 career three-pointers. The old record, held by Katie Smith, did it in 81. Caitlin, just 74 games. 7 games faster than one of the greatest shooters the league has ever seen. She came into the game needing 3 threes to reach this milestone, knocked down the record-breaking shot in the second quarter, and then just...
The challenge for voters is that Clark's statistical production is now accompanied by an influence that extends well beyond the box score. She affects television ratings, ticket demand, merchandise sales, media attention, and the overall visibility of the league in ways that are difficult to ignore. There are very few athletes in any professional sport who can honestly claim that an entire broadcast schedule feels different because of their presence. That is why the upcoming stretch after the All-Star break feels so significant. The timing could not be better for Indiana. That possibility should excite Indiana fans because a healthy Caitlin Clark changes everything. She stretches defenses farther than almost anyone in professional basketball. She creates transition opportunities from seemingly impossible passes. She turns ordinary possessions into highlight reels with one perfectly timed assist or one logo three-pointer that leaves the opposing crowd completely silent. More importantly, she has developed an undeniable confidence that spreads throughout the roster. Teammates play faster, cut harder, and shoot with greater belief because they know the ball can find them at any moment.
Before I get too amped up, big shout to Kelsey Mitchell. If Clark doesn't get Player of the Week, it should go to you. I keep telling y'all, man, them assists change a lot of things. Clark is contributing over 40 points a game. Over 40 points a game. You can't turn your head from that. And Kelsey's only averaging 3 more points than her. So when you look at it stat-wise, Clark is going to get it all day, all night, in all reality, B. She does too much all the way around the board. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to...
The league as a whole also benefits from this momentum. Record-breaking audiences are not just good news for one player or one franchise. They strengthen television partnerships, attract additional sponsors, encourage greater investment, and expose new fans to the WNBA. Every record that falls today has the potential to create bigger opportunities for every player tomorrow. That is why these viewership milestones matter so much. They are not simply impressive numbers posted on social media for a few hours before everyone moves on to the next headline. Considering everything that has already happened, betting against her feels like volunteering to lose money. Almost every time people suggest she has reached her ceiling, she responds by delivering another unforgettable performance, collecting another award, or setting another television milestone that nobody saw coming. At this point, the biggest surprise would be if she stopped surprising everyone, because Caitlin Clark has made doing the impossible look almost routine, and somehow that routine keeps getting more extraordinary with every game she plays.